All right. Hello, everybody. We are privileged today to speak with Leslie. And Leslie, she and I talked a bit before this recording started, this broadcast. And her father has an esophagus problem. We're going to talk about that. But there's a lot of really interesting things in here that are going to be useful for all students, whether you're a non-member of our advanced training or not. A lot of good stuff here. So let me bring Leslie on. Hello. Say hello, Leslie.
Hello.
Okay. So, Leslie, you wrote to me an email talking about your father. Your father's 86.
Right.
And the problem, apparently, is an esophagus that closes up so he can't swallow.
Right.
And so I think from your newsletter, or from your email, he was he had to have it stretched out 2 or 3 times a year. Did I hear that right?
Yes. He has to go into the hospital to have it stretched.
Okay. Awful.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in your email, you listed a few possibilities as to what may have caused this. We're always interested in cause here. What causes things, okay?
Right.
And you were talking about, let me look at my notes here. Your father seems to think maybe it's a bunch of pills that he had to take a long time ago from some doctor, okay?
Right.
Maybe there was some issue with somebody having to put some fingers down his throat at a young age to help him breathe or something.
He got choked. He got choked real bad on a pill, and my brother shoved his fingers down his throat to unlodge the pill.
Okay. And so your father, not necessarily you, but your father seems to think maybe that's a contributor to his current problem.
Right.
But that was how long ago?
Oh, some years ago.
Okay. If there was some kind of damage done to the esophagus or that passageway or the fingers down the throat, we would expect it typically to have healed by now because bodies heal.
Right.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
But nonetheless, as far as your father understands, and by the way, he's not into any of this woo-woo stuff, is he?
No.
Okay. So as far as he understands, that could be a contributor, some kind of damage that never got fixed.
Right.
Kind of thing. And you were telling me when he was in the Air Force, he didn't like the food, so he put all kinds of hot sauce on it over and over again.
Hot sauce and vinegar. That was his thing.
Hot sauce and vinegar. And he has done that, do I remember correctly, every day since?
Many years, yes.
He doesn't do it now because if he does it now, he has a real esophagus problem.
It would choke him to death, yeah.
Okay. When is the last time, how long ago did he give up the hot sauce?
Oh, I'll say about 5 years now.
Okay.
About 5 years.
All right. So you and I talked about this before the recording, but I want to mention something because it's an important field. Important item. We're always looking for the cause of things. Now, the esophagus problem closing up, to me, that's a symptom. It is a symptom, and it has a cause. All right.
Right.
Now, if one takes pills, which just about everybody does because doctors prescribe them, as time goes on, like your father takes pills, and then you don't take the pills anymore. If those pills have side effect type damages, just like sticking the fingers down the throat might have done some damage, just like hot sauce on the food might cause some damage. Okay. Those things, the body tends to heal normally.
Right.
Like if you cut yourself, it'll heal normally as long as you don't keep cutting yourself. Okay.
Right.
All right. So.
Oh, you know what? There was one thing I forgot to mention too.
Sure.
He mentioned quite a few times that his mother had the same problem.
Oh, his mother had. I didn't know that. Yeah. The same esophagus problem?
Right.
Okay. I'm making a little note here.
She had a swallowing problem. Yeah.
Well, a swallowing problem, is that necessarily an esophagus problem, or do you know?
I don't know, because I don't think that she ever had to have it stretched like he does.
Okay. All right. So one might conclude from something like that, oh, gee, it's genetic. You know, that could be a cause.
Right.
So as you may know, Leslie, I'm not a doctor. I have no medical training whatsoever. I'm basically an engineer. Okay.
Sure.
From Stafford. So I look at things a little through a different set of glasses.
Right.
The whole genetics thing, while there certainly may be something to it, I see lots of genetic things where, you know, one sibling has diabetes and another doesn't, and they're both supposed to have it because it's genetic, because the parents had it, this kind of thing. Okay. One of the things that gets passed down, and I'm just sowing the seed for you and our listeners, is not only genetics, it's passed down from, you know, from ancestors to descendants and so on, is not just genetics, but also beliefs. Family have certain beliefs. They have religious beliefs. They have cultural beliefs. They have all kinds of beliefs that get passed down.
Right.
They get passed down things like, we should never be able to make much money because we're worthless and way down the totem pole. That would be a belief that some people get. Okay.
Right.
Your father could have a belief, and your father's mother could have a belief, and so on, about being African by descent, being black people. Okay. And there is some prejudice built into all of that. And so inside all of that is, I am second class or something like that. Society tends to give that to people.
Right.
What I'm pointing out, though, is beliefs get handed down.
Right.
And our beliefs, our emotional states, the angers, the griefs, the resentments, etc., show up in our body in all kinds of different ways.
Right.
Genetics could be a part of that, but we're going to focus not on genetics because we can't do anything about that. Okay.
Right.
We're going to focus on emotional causes. All right. Now, we also are working at a little bit of a disadvantage because your father's not here and he doesn't believe in any of this stuff, right?
Right.
So he's not going to sit here and cooperate with us.
I know.
So you and I are going to have to do something surrogately in his behalf, and he won't even know we're doing it.
Right.
And you won't even know if it's going to have a tangible result until you check in with him as time goes on.
As time goes on, right.
Okay. So that doesn't mean we can't do some stuff. That I've seen a lot of magical stuff happen done surrogately. Although we do work with the handicap, we can't really get feedback from him and, you know, immediate feedback.
Sure.
And so on. So let me look here again at my list here. By background with EFT, you've been at it for a few years. You've had some of my past DVDs. You've read my recent book, The Unseen Therapist,
right?
Which is where we're going to go. We're not going to bother with tapping here because the Unseen Therapist is higher level. As an aside, you told me before the recording, you've had some, you didn't call it this, but let me use that label, spiritual experiences yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Name one or two, would you, just so we get a sense of that?
Some years ago, when my one of my uncles passed away, he passed away suddenly while he was sitting on the couch watching a football game. We went up to his funeral, and as we were getting ready for his funeral, I was talking to my aunt in the kitchen, and a man called out my name. And my dad and some other members of the family were sitting up in a room up the hallway. And I thought maybe it could be him. When I stepped out, he was coming down the hallway on his way to the bathroom. I said, did you just call me? And he gave me a smirk. He said, no, I didn't just call you. But my brother was standing down the end of the hall talking to my mom in the room. He was standing at the door jam. He said, Dad, he said, you did so just call her. He said, you said Leslie. But he didn't. It was my uncle. calling
Yep.
out to me because I felt that he passed away. He just fell asleep on the couch watching the game, and all of a sudden he woke up someplace else. And he was like wondering where the heck, he
Yeah.
just called out my name, but I heard it very clear, and it felt like somebody took a big bucket of ice water and just poured it straight through me.
Yeah.
And I had that. I've seen when I was very little. I seen my great grandparents. I told you about that, and I explained
Well,
to my aunts exactly what they looked like, and it was them. They knew it was their mother and dad.
Yeah, they were deceased, but at the foot of your bed.
At the foot of my bed, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And with their little dog, their black and white dog, and they died way before I was born.
Yeah. Okay. Now, these kinds of things to the uninitiated person are really woo-woo out there. Now, I've had my own version, if you've read my book, which you have, The Unseen Therapist.
Right.
I didn't happen to see people who had passed away. I had another experience, but it was this extraordinary experience from the other side, if you will. It is real. It really exists. And that's what our unseen therapist represents.
Mm-hmm.
Our unseen therapist knows more about what's going on with your father than you and I ever will.
Right.
Okay. And so we're going to be borrowing from that in a way. Now, for those listening in, we have a like a membership. It's an advanced EFT, the OEFT, Optimal EFT course membership.
Mm-hmm.
And that teaches a lot of very advanced stuff, including how to ask the unseen therapist directly for what's really going on here. Okay.
Right.
We're not going to be able to do that here, but it's there. And we've gotten some extraordinary results out of that. Now, I'll be using some intuitive things from that source as we go through this. All right.
Okay.
And one of the intuitive things that I'm picking up is that your father, like you and I talked about this a little bit before the recording, before the broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
Your father carries around a lot of very unresolved emotional issues, resentments, for example. And you were telling me that he had to even leave his family at an early age and lie about his age to get into the Air Force because he wanted out of that, my term, mess. I said it right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That only suggests he's carrying around just a minute, a lot of resentment. Would I be correct in that?
Sure.
Okay. Resentment, and let's think about this for a minute. This is the kind of thing, I've asked doctors about this before, and I've yet to have one disagree with me. When we're carrying around negative emotions, such as resentment, our systems generate a literal cascade of negative chemistry in the body. The adrenaline goes out of balance. The cortisol goes out of balance. Hundreds of chemical reactions that are there to, keep you healthy go out of balance. So your immune system now got to go deal with all that. Okay. And there's only so much of the immune system. If it didn't deal with that, you'd be in trouble. So would your father would be in trouble immediately. Okay.
Right.
So it deals with that, but there's only so much to it. So the years go by, it can only do so much, and it starts showing up physically like an esophagus thing. Okay. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't surprise me to learn that your mother, his mother, because she had the esophagus thing, also dealt with a whole lot of resentment. Resentments are the kind of things you tend not to want to swallow. You'd rather just boil about something. You don't want to swallow them.
Right.
I don't know about the mother, but that would be my guess. Okay. From experience. So anyway, we've got this resentment going on.
Mm-hmm.
And that combined with other beliefs passed down, from family and everything else, ends up with this physical thing, the esophagus deal. Other people get cancer, they get headaches, they get migraines, they get other kind of physical ailments. In your father's case, it's the esophagus.
That's pretty much all that's wrong with him right now.
Okay. Well, it's showing up right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it contributed to by the hot sauce and the fingers down the throat and maybe the pills? Yeah, but why don't these things heal normally? They don't. And I've seen so many times, when we start taking care of the emotional causes behind it, then we start getting healing. That's not in the medical books anyplace that I know.
Right. He's also angry at his throat because it's the way it is.
Okay.
He's angry that he can't eat the way he wants to and be able to enjoy food, you know.
Well, yeah, and that would make one angry. He's not here, so I really can't verify this. I'm just giving you my experience.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest that anger, which is also another word for resentment, okay?
Right.
I would suggest that anger is deeper than just not being able to swallow the food.
Sure.
Okay. And so we want to go as far back as we can.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, with all that as a preface, you and I are now going to work, if it's okay with you, we're going to work surrogately. We're going to bring in the unseen therapist, and we're going to do it in two ways. The first thing we're going to do is we're just going to simply aim at the symptom, not the cause,